What is up, everybody? It's Reverse TV today. Now, we're going to talk about this discussion that's been going on for at least a week or 2 weeks, probably like around a week. This discussion has been going on where gaming journalists or gaming reviewers think, official gaming journalists and reviewers think they don't have to fully finish a game to actually review the game. This discussion, this whole talking point is very bizarre to me because this is the first time I've ever heard of something like this where you don't have to fully beat a game to review it. That has never even occurred to me before because that sounds so bizarre. Like when we look at your articles and your different websites and your videos, we assume you always beat the game. That's why you're making a review of it. Like that's kind of very concerning that this guy like this is because he makes this post. We're gonna get to this post, but it's very concerning when you can see a post like this and you got to now you got a second you got to question every all these different reviewers now at this point. So he wrote the reminder that you don't need to be good at games to write about them or stream them or even make them. Okay, we agree with that point. You don't gotta be the greatest at a game. You don't gotta be an esports or MLG level player at games to write about them or stream them. I agree with that point right there. He also says you don't need to finish a game to review it. And that's where we got a problem right there. What? You don't need to finish a game to review it? Oh, what are you talking about? To publish it, an opinion and score, most of the time we don't get the time. So he's saying you don't have to beat a game to review it, which is kind of like, what are you talking about? It's like an automatic that you have to beat a game to review it. It's like a movie. If you want to review a movie, you have to actually watch the entire movie to review it. It's like the same concept. If you want to review a book, you gotta read the entire book to review it. So I don't know where he's getting at with this. Like this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like it doesn't make any sense like you play halfway through a game and just give a review of it, or even 75% of a game and just give a review of it. You're still missing like 25% or a big chunk or half of it to give your opinion on the full game. So it doesn't make any sense. So this got a lot of discussion going on about it because it's kind of like if you got people who think like this and he has a blue check mark, so he has an official title somewhere, he's well respected, and he's making comments like this, that is very concerning. And like what? Like I just did my Resident Evil 8 Village review, and I beat that game. I wouldn't dare think of making a review without beating the game, or at least I gave my impressions of the game when like played the first 2 hours to get my impressions of it. It's like if you didn't beat a game, why not just say that hey? Why not just make it clear up front, like in your review, that hey, this review is still in progress, or it's like this is a certain point I got to in the game, like a certain like maybe like 5 hours into the game. I haven't fully beaten the game yet. But you just playing for 5 hours and just reviewing the game is just it's just bizarre. That is just that should not be happening whatsoever. So let's read some of these comments because they are going full force on this guy because this statement is pretty wild. It's definitely something we don't hear that often. Um, so he says, whenever I see the usual suspects use these points as a reason to attack individuals, it shows how little they really know about the industry they're supposedly champions of. It's pure pandering, grifting to an audience of hatred. So far from meaningful commentary and criticism. So this is extremely vague. I don't know what he's talking about in this post. This is extremely vague. So let's see some other comments. So he wants to get on from my interview. He said no thanks. To be fair, Mike, that's not a reminder, it's an opinion. In my opinion, you should finish a game to review it, especially if given it a score. Otherwise, it's disingenuous at best. And I understand timing, embargoes, etc. Those impact reviews as a separate issues. Okay. I like to put it on the record here that I've never reviewed a game I haven't finished, ever, ever, ever. Yeah, because it's common sense. Like, who would do that? Like, this common sense with most people. Like, you'd actually finish a game or finish a movie or finish a book before we're in a review of it. That's like common sense, but okay. Um, I'm not sure I have. I'm not sure I have. Wait, I'm not sure I ever have to be honest, but that's not to say I couldn't. I'm gonna discount remasters here though. Pushing through Final Fantasy VII Remake was the last time I did a big one, and doing Fallen Order within 2 days, I think to fit in. Generally avoid triple reviews now. Okay. Counterpoint: I don't want to read a review of a fighting game by someone who doesn't have a base understanding of universal mechanics and what it takes to learn how to play one to passable standard. I think some genres require a specialist hand. And to an extent, like you got a big company like IGN, sure, you want to get someone who's a fighting game expert. But if you're just a random Joe Blow like me, for example, I'm not that great at fighting games, but I can still get my review of it. So, if I were to play like a fighting game to completion. So I don't agree with the statement fully. Now that's fair, but another thing entirely, I would expect that genre experts on like everything and be top of online leaderboards to tell me if the game is good or not. I agree with that too. This is the epitome of trust me, bro. I am just glad you're on a doctor. No, no, you don't need a full checkup. Partial is enough. You have this condition. Trust me. Ah, yes, writing about video games and performing medical diagnosis to save lives, definitely the same thing. I wonder if these reviews had to finish the game. People would change their tune if you couldn't leave a Steam review without finishing the game. Yeah, that is true too. They did that for everybody. Like they actually put that principle to everybody who reviewed a game, like on Steam, and say, "Hey, have you beaten this game? Show us proof that you beat this game for your review." That would change a lot of things. I kind of wish they would do that, to be honest. But then again, nah. I kind of, I guess if a game is buggy, I guess people want to give their opinions if a game is buggy or not. So I don't know. I don't know how they would handle that. So I guess this is so proof in general that you at least have the game. If you want to review that a game is buggy or not, um, just so we can avoid review bombing. But I think that would be a pretty cool system he's talking about right here. You can write about them. Nobody's stopping you. Doesn't mean your opinion is well informed. The Gibberell idea, in my opinion, is that if you are in a certain industry, people expect a certain level of competency. I agree. Let's see. I kind of wish people talk on the last point. Like, I don't care about the first point. I care about people talking about the last point about not finishing games. Let's see. While I agree with the first point for any game focused on narrative experiences, I would challenge this disingenuous to give a review of that whole game based on a portion of it. It's like watching episode one of a TV season, then reviewing the whole package by that metric. But most TV series are reviewed based on a few episodes given out to critics. They are upfront about that, and it's a choice to commit based on that. A TV series isn't just as in it either. Why are you reviewing something you haven't finished? Imagine movie critics doing the same. Yeah, that's just the bizarre bizarre statement to most people. Like, why would you review something without finishing? That's the first time I ever heard of that, and I was like, I'm wondering like how many of these other reviewers are doing the same thing. Like they're actually like playing games without reviewing. They're playing games without finishing and giving the reviews of it. That is very shocking. Like, does make you wonder like how many people are doing that? I agree with every except the finishing the game to review it. I may be ignorant of the industry, but you out of touch with your audience if that's the attitude. It's not acceptable in other media, written, visual, audio. So why is it in gaming? How acceptable? But how acceptable would? Okay. Let's see. I agree with the first part. Being good at games certainly helps in writing and making them, but you don't need to be a skilled gamer to write, stream, slash make them. As for the second part, I wholeheartedly disagree. A game review and score necessities completion or close to it. For F's sakes, that's like dropping Game of Thrones on season 4 and saying it's the best or worst TV show ever made. There's still 4 more seasons. If a reviewer can't be bothered to finish a game, then they have to explain their reasoning in the first paragraph and next to the score. Sorry, but no, you definitely need to finish the game. Roll credits. Not 100%. It's extraneous collectibles, etc., are not relevant to this debate. In my opinion, you could have seen what 40/50% of a game in Last of Us, you wouldn't be reaching even the average segment if you did that. Yeah, so a lot of people are disagreeing with this guy. I don't think nobody actually agree with this guy because that's just a crazy statement. So you don't got to finish a game to beat it. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But wouldn't someone who isn't good at the game not enjoy it as much as someone who is to give a fair and unbiased review? That makes no sense, man. If someone isn't good at football games and doesn't enjoy them, shouldn't be reviewing a football game? I'm not here to argue, but what the f? I agree with you here. This guy must be living in La La Land. Imagine if a surgeon started surgery but didn't finish his job but still gets celebrated. Doesn't make much sense to me. Just do one thing you are paid to do. A lot of people come up with these crazy takes. Like he says, did you just compare surgery to game journalism? What a terrible take. They're doing these crazy comparisons, but I can't get where they're coming from. Um, I argue you don't need to finish, but that should be clear, and your review is probably worse. If so, again, this is why we have reviews versus previews or impressions. Yeah, that's kind of. Yeah, so that's pretty much. I'm gonna sum it up right here because pretty much people are saying the same thing in the comments. It's like if you're reviewing any form of media, you should actually beat that form of media or complete it to completion. Like they said, the whole collectibles, you gotta be 100% with the collectibles, but you should at least like finish the stories where you see like the credits roll to give you a review of it. It's just common sense. I thought that was common sense, but now since they got this discussion going forward, it's like most people disagree with this guy, but I'm sure that's pretty cool. That's good that most people disagree with this guy, but that is very concerning that a guy with a blue check mark is saying you don't got to beat a game to finish it. That's very, very concerning right there. So that concludes the video. Everyone see your thoughts about this down below. Leave a like if you like this video. And as always, thanks for watching and peace.